tell us, please, about the building blocks of the DNA and, getting genetically fixed? Of course, mine's more of a materialistic rather than a spiritualistic or a conscious, or maybe it's just the intent. I don't know.
Well, that chapter was interesting because, of course, you never know what to expect when you bring these questions to Source. But the Source, the very first thing, it described DNA as the chain of events. And I thought that was interesting because immediately with that sentence came an evolution of history, if I can use the word evolution, because it said that DNA builds upon historical events. In other words, the DNA that we have now is a result of the history of humanity, okay? And at such a point where that history really starts to change, then our DNA will also change along with it. And at this particular time, the potential to evolve a new biology is definitely there, more so than in the past, because our DNA hasn't changed that much in a really, really long time. So that means that we are actually creating a new human race right now with the different things that are going on the planet, with the different shifts in consciousness. We're building new DNA strands that will arrive at a different type of human being. And we've seen evidence of that with the new children who are coming in for a while now. But, obviously they're a lot more gifted than we were. They're smarter, they're psychic, they're remembering their past lives, they're coming in remembering God. They're physically extremely talented. So we can see that they're already coming in with a different biology. And then, we were talking earlier about, maybe not with you, but about ETs and that whole hybrid program that's been going on with the human race. And the question was, are some of the children who are coming in part of the hybridization that's been happening? And I do think that some of these kids could be the result of some of the ET abductions that have happened and the children that have been created, let's just say, through what they've been taking from the women and men here for a while. But I wouldn't say that is true entirely, because I do think the conditions generally in the galaxy are causing DNA activations and awakenings. So we have two things that contribute to DNA. One looks like it is the linear buildup, let's just say, of history that creates a life form and its attributes. And then you also have consciousness awakening, which alters DNA also. So that whole chapter basically was just kind of defining DNA and saying that it was a collection of history, and that each particular life form on the planet has its own collection of history, which makes it what it is, but that we can change the DNA a lot by our mental state, by our emotional state. I think they've done a scientific test years ago with the DNA and have proven that emotions do alter the DNA. They make it longer, they relax it, so it responds to different emotional states. So we do have a part to play in this ourselves in terms of, how that DNA actually gets upgraded or how it changes. But, consciousness does affect it as well as history. So that's really what that whole chapter is in the book is about. So any questions on that one?
Well, you mentioned karma, and I'm curious because I had a very dramatic birth, and someone told me that That was karma that I had chose to be born that way. And I'm thinking, there is no way on God's green earth that I would have pre-selected to go through that,
Mhm.
you know. But I don't know. Do we, in your,
Yeah,
according to the records, I mean, do we choose ahead of time?
I do think we do have a choice in a lot of that. I actually do agree with that. And I do know that there are certain people in families that will take on a lot of historical karma through their ancestry. So people who have an extremely rough time in families oftentimes are the ones that are chosen or that do choose to do the most healing through the family line. So when you told me about your birth, part of me thinks that it's a collective of historical things that maybe were not the cause of yourself, but would be a collection of ancestry that's getting cleared through you. So whatever happened in the birth, what did happen? Tell me what happened.
Okay, I am from deep in the sticks, Appalachian, U.S. Okay,
Okay.
and
Yep.
my dad was a coal miner. I was born at
Mhm.
home. The camp doctor delivered me, but my dad was an alcoholic at that time in his life, and he beat my mom up a couple of weeks before I was born, and she had a couple of weeks of labor, and I had bruises all over me still when I was born. And it was pretty rough birth from what I understand, you know.
Mhm. Right. So even in terms of your life, though, would you, when I say to you that you could have been the one that chose to clear a lot of family history, would that
Ang-
make sense?
Aingeal, you're making me feel Christ-like for all the sacrifices I've done in my life. You would not believe how many times I have come close to death. It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And here I am. I'm older than you, hon, and I'm still here.
Yes. Yeah.
But I never considered myself a Christ-like person, but I am a person that believes in loving all of humanity,
Right.
and not hate. I can't handle violence and evil. I mean, I can't deal with it. I just have to back away, you
Right.
know.
But
So
that would be the typical definition, though, of a person in a family who would be the one who would be strong enough and loving enough to process through that stuff. So to me, that's what I'm getting. That you're the one in the family that's processing a lot of the history of the family. Okay.
is that why I subconsciously selected ISIS 7 as my avatar?
It could be. Well, why is it? Explain ISIS 7 to me. Is I know
Well,
about ISIS.
okay,
ISIS 7. What's that?
7 is the material realm. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
the material realm. And Isis was the goddess who held the keys of heaven and hell.
Okay. Right.
And she was the goddess mother. The goddess mother. She loved
Mhm.
her children. She was,
Right.
no matter how they turned out, there was a love for the child.
Right. And yet you would extend that to humanity
Yes.
for yourself, you see? Yeah. So it would make perfect sense to me, especially if you look at this time period and what we just said about the DNA. In terms of if the DNA is a collection of events, and it's the condition that our DNA is in now currently is because of history. That in this time period, there's such a potential to change that and evolve the species that it would make perfect sense to me that it is the people in the family that are the most unconditionally loving and forgiving that are the ones that actually are here to change that. And as you know, what you do with one thing, you do with all things. Okay, so that would make perfect sense to me, and that describes your nature.
Wow. I never really thought of myself as being special.
Well, it's a hard contract. It's a very hard contract. And the people that are chosen in families to be the one that process usually do ask that question, why me? Why have I gone through so much stuff? And usually that's the answer. Yeah. But they are
Wow.
still here. They're troopers. They're warriors. They endure an awful lot. So yeah, I
Hmm.
think even the cancer, is a symbol of, if you look at society, even the cancer is a symbol of what needs to be repaired. And you're going through something now that can potentially change the DNA of cancer, and therefore symbolically, if you look at it, that goes out into the world, you know?
Yes, I hope that it helps future persons. I do.
Yeah.
That's why I did the test trial.